You're listening to Retail Soundbites.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kantar Retail Soundbites podcast for the week of September 22nd. I'm Barry Thomas, our senior global thought leader, serving clients on global commerce, marketing, and future tense topics. Joining us for every show is my pod partner, Rachel Dalton.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Dalton, Head of Retail Insights for the Americas here at Kantar. Our podcast is intended to share knowledge and insights on both North America and international retail and restaurant verticals. We kick off each podcast with a news and notes section to share innovative and impactful stories from the past 2 weeks, and then we introduce our Kantar experts or guest speakers to share insights on critical topics in commerce today. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Dr. A.K. Pradeep, CEO of Sensory.ai. But first, back over to you, Barry, to officially kick us off with the news and notes.
Glad to do it, Rachel. I just must tell you that Dr. Pradeep, in my time at Coca-Cola, 25 years there, I would put him in top 3 of the smartest, most engaging partners, people I ever worked with in a quarter century. He was absolutely amazing, still is today. And I just know this conversation is just going to be a bit earth-shattering. This guy is one of the smartest people in CPG, period. Drop the mic. It's the truth.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the conversation, Barry.
All right, well, let's kick it off just a little bit on the weekend note. Rachel made it down to Florida. You know, Leslie and I kind of purchased this little shack, on the river, just kind of a shack. It's nothing too
Barry, you're underplaying. Your house is beautiful.
Thank you, but it's it needs a lot of work. So, within a weekend, we set up pretty much 3 bedrooms, a living room, kitchen, outdoor furniture. We had some people helping us, which is great. But quick story. I had some friends that were feeding during the day the turtles and the fish, and that's okay. That's good. We can do that from the dock. I mean, that's kind of normal. We shouldn't do too much of that, though. That's not necessarily a good thing. Then at night, our friends were feeding something. I said, hey, that's not really a turtle. That would be a 4 to 6 foot gator. Maybe let's not feed that.
Wow. Right at the, near your house, close by.
Yes. Fortunately, it's about a 4 foot drop from the dock. So the gator's not going to jump 4 feet, but it's still pretty intimidating, Rachel, to be eye to eye. And they're not scared of us. They know they're the apex predator looking right at you. They're not even scared.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's really scary. Fun to watch from a distance, but not to be too close.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have been, it's fall, kicking into high gear with lots of my son's school stuff. So back to school nights times 3, PTA meetings times 3, soccer games galore. The weather's been really nice up here in Connecticut. So lots of just sitting on the sidelines, watching games. It's been busy, but definitely a good start to the fall and the school year.
You're loving it, Rachel. We're so desperate for fall weather down here. We kind of faked out a few weeks ago. Kind of faked, we had the cold weather for a week, and now it's gone. But we're ready for what you have, and we're ready for some fall cool weather. All right, I'll kick us off just with my first story. Rachel is, it's a really unique opportunity right now for retailers and food service. So, where are fast food customers going? Well, they're going to the grocery store. And this is from Restaurant Business Online. Just very quickly, look, there's a real shift in this country. Fast food traffic is obviously softening. You see it with McDonald's and other even fast casual players, Chipotle's, Sweet Green, et cetera. And so everyone's seeking value for sure. And competition, is certainly moving to grocers, dollar stores, C stores for the meal occasion. And every report we're reading shows that. And certainly this news story, a couple key data points, almost 40% of McDonald's customers also shop Aldi pretty heavily. And that's up significantly the last 3 years. And then almost 75% of McDonald's shoppers also shop Dollar Tree. That's up almost 70% in the last 3 years. So there's just so much overlap between the QSR and the grocer, especially in the value area, and also C-store. So the implications are, there's no question, grocers are winning huge on value and convenience with meals. Food forward convenience stores, obviously like Wawa, are absolutely stealing breakfast occasions. I mean, it is theft in America with what's happening with QSRs. We've been helping some restaurant chains with this. It's just unprecedented. And retailers are just capturing more of the food away from home occasion for many good reasons. And for FMCG brands, it's a big opportunity to really partner with that deli food service area, impulse on the go. And it's just a difficult time for restaurants. Could be, we'll have to see. It could be a bit structural, but it's a massive change in the US.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why. Not only the value piece, because sometimes you're not getting the ultimate value you used to get in fast food, but also health and wellness. If you're shopping, you can maybe grab a roaster chicken roaster, or salads that are prepackaged and prepared very easily now in convenience and grocery, and where you already are shopping, also saving a trip. So playing up that even more convenient side of things. So yeah, really interesting, but I can see why that's happening.
For sure.
So a couple of pieces of news for me. First, out of Retail Dive, this caught my eye. Gosh, it must have been a week ago now, and I was like, "Oh, this seems really interesting." So I thought I'd talk about it on the podcast. Best Buy is offering new advertising opportunities for its customers as part of its retail media network play. So as an advertiser at Best Buy, you can buy into a takeover package in Best Buy stores. So you can basically place your ads across Best Buy in-store, interior, exterior, really everywhere in very high visibility places. So essentially store takeover, and it's a big branding opportunity. They're also leaning into professional sports partnerships. There's data that shows Best Buy shoppers are 26% more likely than the general population to be sports fans. So that's another aspect of this. But again, really cool visibility, windows, TV walls, across other physical touch points in store, also digitally. So really interesting. Best Buy has only been out, well, their retail media network launched back in 2022. And one interesting fact out of the article I was reading is the measurement aspect. Best Buy says it has the capability of connecting 93% of its transactional revenue to a single customer ID. So that's huge opportunity for advertisers to be very highly personalized and really highly targeted in their advertising.
No, you're right, Rachel, and I haven't seen that before. Recently for many retailers. So, I think the results will be really interesting, and maybe it's something. Do you think other retailers maybe follow?
I think so. I mean, it's definitely an innovative, I'm not sure how much it costs and what the investment is, but yeah, it is a big opportunity to really be the brand of conversation when you walk in a Best Buy store for sure.
I can't wait to see the results. All right, I'll move to story number 2. This is coming out of Food Navigator. We're doing some custom work now at Kantar for some clients, really on sort of digital packaging, and this article kind of speaks to us. So I just thought it'd be interesting to touch on, since we're doing some real work on this. The future of packaging is certainly digital data, storytelling, and engagement. And so packaging is just continuing to turn into an interactive, medium or asset. That's QR codes, augmented reality, and then obviously AI kind of packaged all that up into almost like a channel where consumers just interact with the brand differently. And so just some of the scan rates coming from this article are showing that connected packaging, like a QR code on a package, can see up to 14% scan rates compared to less than 1% for many click-through digital ads. Plus, there's often documented sales lifts with these QR codes and packaging. But we have to get ready for GS1, and that's coming essentially in 2027. That'll become much more widespread, led by Walmart, Amazon, et cetera. And really, every CPG brand has to get ready for this transition to the GS1 digital barcode.
Yeah, I find it so interesting. I mean, it's now finally a time where you as a brand could really tell your story, communicate via these QR codes and digital packaging, versus back in the day where you could say one thing on the package that might be read, as a consumer's quickly trying to find and grab products. So I think it's just such a massive opportunity for brands to tell their story.
It is. And, when you see it, Rachel, when we're working, with like more than 2 or 3 CPGs on the same topic, they're all kind of getting ready for this new era of digital barcodes. So it's really neat.
Yeah, really cool. So next for me, Barry, out of Forbes, this is about Walmart expanding its specialty pharmacy delivery as GLP-1 drugs continue to grow. And specialty pharmacy overall is growing in the US, especially as new drugs are coming out stemming from biotech developments that have more complications due to refrigeration requirements or other specialized things like specific packaging or specific administration of the drugs that do not lend themselves to that quick traditional pharmacy pickup. So for Walmart, the refrigerated or reconstituted medicines make up about 30% of its overall pharmacy sales. So specialty pharmacy enables Walmart to deliver 90% of all of its prescription medications, which is a big opportunity for them. And it also touted itself as being the first retailer to deliver pharmacy items alongside your standard grocery basket in one online order, which is, again, upping the convenience level too for customers. We know Amazon, CVS, Walgreens, others have been running specialty pharmacy services for several years, but this is a really interesting piece of Walmart's overall offer, is just being able to combine that with the overall basket.
It's a big play, Rachel. It'll impact the traditional drug chains that already have ridiculous headwinds, Walgreens, CVS, but also regional grocers and med spas. I can tell you firsthand that cold supply chain for the GLP-1, injections, it's kind of arduous. So, once again, Walmart going to take more share with maybe the hottest, drug in our lifetime, GLP-1s, right?
Right.
All right, I'll bring it home with a story out of Ad Age. I thought it was just really good as they were sort of documenting and talking about how brands are marketing value in this sort of era of tariffs and a bit of just, structural inflation we've had since the pandemic. So just kind of 3 points. Value obviously is not just price, but certainly price is a big part of that. Various studies showing that, 40% of consumer value perceptions come from quality, trust, attitude, and not just cost. Obviously, more brands are adding benefits, not just discounts. So you think about Geico, Costco, they're showing that bundling extra perks like roadside help or bilingual support or gift cards and many other ways, they're making the pricing and the value just feel smarter and more relevant. And then also price ceilings are building trust. Already data coming back from different players showing that Pizza Hut's $5 pies, Olive Garden sort of frozen pasta price, they've kept that pretty stable over the past couple of years or so. All are sort of driving more reliability and are reducing risk. And so as a brand, you do want to reduce risk in the mind of the consumer, given this sort of economic stagnation that we're in. And so those are just a couple of examples there. And then lastly, Rachel, this Walmart, especially, the CEO, Doug McMillon, continues to talk about convenience in the context of value. Years ago, Walmart didn't do that. It was, everyday low price. But now, they're talking about value differently, where it's certainly low price, but also convenience. So, we have to do more than just lower prices, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the value is not equal to price has definitely been something consumers really buy into for a number of years now. And, you can even see this in the private label development, which we're seeing so much growth in private brands. But now private brands have tiers. It's not just about opening price point. It's about what can you deliver more around quality, like you said, Barry, or that additional functional benefit. Consumers want and demand more. So it's never about the price, but it's about the right mix of price and value. And that's different for every consumer. So it's certainly a way to also reduce risk, because you're able to offer a full portfolio at different price points with different value kind of levers, and it just enriches like your overall assortment as well. All right, Barry, just to finish us up, out of CNN, relatively hot off the press, is this news, which I found very interesting as I track Amazon pretty closely. And that is that Amazon is closing the 14 Amazon Fresh stores in the UK market. And the 5 others that it has, they're going to convert into Whole Foods Market stores. And instead of Amazon Fresh in the UK, Amazon will focus on online delivery. It believes it has a better opportunity to compete there in this particular market. Amazon Fresh stores have only been open since 2021 in the UK. But typically for Amazon, they lean in, they try, they learn, and if it doesn't work, they're refocusing, and that's really what they're doing here. It sounds like Whole Foods Market will still be a big area of opportunity for Amazon in the UK. With plus 5 stores under the Whole Foods banners is a big incremental opportunity. So we'll see. But pivoting its grocery strategy in the UK market was definitely very interesting.
Not surprised, Rachel. We got to keep in mind, with the rankings over there, it's Tesco, then generally Sainsbury, but Aldi and Lidl now combined almost have a 20 share of grocery over there, kind of combined the number three player. It's so difficult in that grocery market. So not too surprised to see that from Amazon.
Yeah, very difficult to compete there. So, yeah. Well, Barry, I'm really excited to speak to our guest today, Dr. A.K. Pradeep. Dr. Pradeep is a highly experienced Silicon Valley entrepreneur, recognized for having launched a series of successful firms across a number of categories. Most recently, he's the founder and CEO of Sensory.ai, an international advanced high technology enterprise specializing in the unique combination of generative AI and neuroscience. Dr. Pradeep is a best-selling international author as well. His newest book, NeuroAI, Neuroscience Powered Generative AI, will be published by Wiley this spring. He also authored The Buying Brain, Secrets for Selling to the Subconscious Mind, recognized as the premier guide to neuromarketing, a sold-out book published in multiple languages. And his additional book, AI for Marketing and Product Innovation, Amazon named the #1 new release in business management. Dr. Pradeep founded many companies. He founded and served as the CEO of NeuroFocus, which ranks as the world leader in the consumer neuroscience field. Prior to that, he founded BoardVantage, the global market leader in board portals, and a company that was subsequently acquired by NASDAQ. He has many, many professional honors. He holds over 90 US and international patents and has been published in a range of scientific journals. Dr. Pradeep is also the owner and chairman of KGBR 92.7 FM, which is a popular radio station in Oregon, and he earned his PhD in engineering from the University of California at Berkeley. Dr. Pradeep, welcome to our podcast. We are so delighted to have you, Dr. Pradeep. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Really glad to be here. Really looking forward to talking to you both.
Dr. Pradeep, I remember you doing work with Nielsen when I was over at Coca-Cola. Gosh, this may have been 2 decades ago. You haven't aged, by the way, so congratulations. That's the truth. But you were just such a breath of fresh energy. You were so intelligent. You were talking to something about we'd never heard about, neuroscience, and you've still been leading in that area, but also with AI. Maybe a good place to start, Rachel, is just you have written a new book, and I was just looking at it. NeuroAI, winning the minds of consumers with neuroscience. Powered by GenAI. Maybe just tell us a little bit about that, and just to kind of start off with.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure, and thank you so kindly for remembering me for all these years. And Coca-Cola is such a wonderful company, and my company NeuroFocus had been acquired by Nielsen, and we had been building neuro labs at Coca-Cola where you could do all of the neuromarketing and neuroscience experimentation. So, and as with everything, the neuroscience division that was acquired by Nielsen still continues to thrive and do wonderful things, etc. So my journey has been a very interesting journey. So after NeuroFocus, I built a company called Machine Vantage that was basically trying to do AI. Early, I think in 2015 or 16, we recognized how natural language processing, in the old days, we used to call it NLP, right? Natural language processing was very important because consumers think in natural language. And we also knew that metaphors were very important because metaphors were the language of the non-conscious mind. And Professor George Lakoff would tell us, my God, the non-conscious mind is where all the consumer's desires are. And so how do you go to a consumer in market research and say, could you articulate your unarticulated needs? How dumb can it be, right? So basically, we started dabbling severely in almost a stealth mode of doing natural language processing and unearthing the non-conscious. And I wrote a book about it with Andrew Appel, who was the former CEO of IRI, and Stan Stonenathan, who was at that time, the former head of global insights at Unilever. And we realized how powerful these things were. The non-conscious was very powerful, natural language was very powerful. And even as much as we tried, our tools were in the Stone Ages, right? And this was before Gen AI happened, right? So Gen AI happened in about 2020, 21, 22, and I pivoted everything that I did away from the Stone Age tools of NLP and metaphor mining, etc., flipped it completely to building it on top of and infusing Gen AI with neuroscience. Because imagine this, we had put EEG headsets and measured brains of people, thousands of them. And I think by the last count, it was close to 100,000 brains across the planet.
Hmm.
All of the learnings from all of that are generally unavailable in the Gen AI models. So the idea hit us. One, why can't we take all these incredible lessons from neuroscience as to how the brain looks at marketing, at point of sale materials, at retail calls to action, at a price, at a promotion, all of those learnings and infuse them into Gen AI, or the more common term is neurodistill the Gen AI models. So this knowledge is infused in them. So when a marketer or a CMO or a head of brand tries to do something with their brand, it's not cool things that typically come out of Gen AI. It is the cool things that are guided by the lessons of neuroscience as they pertain to marketing. And that was the origin of the field of neuro AI, the same way we were involved in the early days of neuro marketing. This is neuro AI infusing neuroscience into Gen AI. And that became the company Sensory.ai, right? And with that learning also, we decided to expand not just into marketing, but because, as you know, a marketer, every great marketer always wants a great product they could market. And usually when you run an innovation session, people from marketing, from R&D and everything would come in and would innovate. Now, you can ask Gen AI algorithms to innovate, and they will go and do cool, fun things. I started my career as a scientist at GE's corporate R&D in upstate New York, and I have a little over 90 patents. So I basically, all my life, all I have done are innovations. And you quickly find it's not just you sit out there and look at the sky and then innovation happens. Is a line in the Three Stooges, right? I'm trying to think, but nothing happens. All right. And that is what I call the innovator's dilemma. You're staring into space and you're like, I should have had a good idea by now, but what's going on? Right. So what we do is there are paradigms of how you go about innovating. So we have taught the Gen AI algorithms how to innovate. Jensen Huang talks about how the important thing is to learn about learning, right? How do we innovate? What is the mechanisms by which we innovate and teach the algorithms the mechanisms of innovation? We have done that. And as you know, in the world of retail, in the world of CPG, you'll quickly realize a soap is a soap is a soap is a soap. Now, of course, my friends in personal care hate it when I say that. However, the differentiator many times are the sensorials, right? The sensorials differentiate. The cleaning action may be the same, but one has a certain kind of fragrance you enjoy. The potato chip may be the same, but one has the flavor you value. So the sensorials make a big difference. And you may or may not know this, four companies controlled 65% of the world's fragrance and flavor. Four. Well, they're not that hard. It's Givaudan, Firmenich, Symrise, and IFF, right? God bless them. God bless them. They do a great job. Now, is it possible We could do everything they do algorithmically. All right. Or if you go to any of the companies and you say, hey, I'm making a soap for young women in New York. I wonder what fragrance I should use. So 3 months later, they come back and tell you, hey, you must use a little bit of lavender, patchouli, bergamot in the top layer. And at the bottom layer, you must have some cedar and oud. And you say, excuse me, how did you go from young woman in New York to patchouli, bergamot, and lavender and a base note of cedar? They say, oh, well, that is our secret. And that's our expertise. And that's why you should trust us. They say this many times with a French accent, and we are biologically compelled to trust them,
Mhm.
right? So we said, wait a minute, Gen AI can do what you call chain of thought, reasoning. So if I come to you and say you must use this fragrance, and you challenge me and you say, Pradeep, why? I must be able to offer you a chain of thought and reasoning based on memory structures embedded in the consumer's brain that you can then rationally say, this is why I recommend these at the top, the middle, and the base. We have done all of that, right? So it is not just cool innovation, it is the innovation of sensorials that truly differentiate. And of course, one does all the packaging, the visual sides of it, the branding, the pricing. Pricing is very big because price is in the non-conscious. Should a new iPhone cost $1,300? Nobody knows what anything should cost. We have no clue. All right. And something in our non conscious mind says, this is reasonable. And something says, this is not. If you cross that boundary of reasonability, you've lost the consumer forever. If you are well within the bound of reasonability, you're leaving money on the table, right? So figuring out what the delicate boundary is. Now that is margin. That's also consumer attrition, right? So we are able to figure that out through neuroscience, couple it with Gen AI, and do all of this. So that is the slightly longer explanation of what this journey has been. And we are working, we're, I would say, the only company on the planet that does three things. Only company. We're the only company blending neuroscience and Gen AI. Nobody does that. We're the only company that uses non conscious data, the unique data consumed by the non conscious mind. We're the largest collection of it. And we create concept graphs as to, if you say shampoo, what else is connected to shampoo? Right? Concept graphs that come from non conscious data, and we are able to use that. We're the only company that also uses the neuroscience of desire, right? You can make a great product. Will the consumer desire for it? Will they lust for it? Right? So the neuroscience of desire is embedded throughout. And the last thing that we do, and I say this because it has kicked off like crazy in just the last 3 months. All right. And so many companies are knocking at our door, and a whole bunch of VCs would love to invest because we're a company that is doing LLM findability and LLM prioritization using neuroscience. What do I mean by that? Today, when you type an item, I don't know, cool coffee or nice good coffee, strong coffee, or whatever, into a Google search bar, Google does two things. It not only will give you links for Pete's Coffee, Starbucks Coffee, whatever, it will give you something called an AI overview. You probably see that. In the AI overview, Google will talk about, oh, how do people think about coffee? What are good ways to think about it? And oh, by the way, these are good brands that go with it. It'll give you a link to click to them. Increasingly, people are using AI LLMs to search, find, and actually look at the ranked prioritization of products and actually go with it because that search makes sense to us, right? Now, why is it interesting? It is interesting because not only is the commerce 4 times more than regular e-commerce, there is tremendous economic value, but here is the answer. The LLM, or the large language model, to a great extent resembles a human brain, right? When you talk to it, it feels you're talking to to a good buddy, right? It resembles a good human brain. This was our NVIDIA moment.
Mm.
NVIDIA moment is everything I personally had been doing for the last 20 years is to how to seduce and persuade the human brain through marketing, deepen our understanding of how the human brain looks for anything. We are finding all our techniques seduce and persuade the LLM as well, because it is like a human brain. So the wonderful techniques of neuroscience and neuromarketing allow you to shamelessly seduce and persuade an algorithm or the LLM, right? And so if you are a great company describing a product, and you could say my product is a great carbonated beverage. It's been there forever. People love it. We bring joy and happiness to life. You could say all of these things, and you could wonder, would the LLM love me because I said all of this? All right. Now, what if I told you we are doing demos on a daily basis. That's why this call I have to finish in about 10 or 15 minutes because I got another demo coming up. Because we are doing LLM findability, ranking it by each of the engines, Perplexity, Google, and ChatGPT. And my algorithms recast and rewrite the product to make it LLM lovable, LLM desirable, and the LLM findability rockets up. We know we are probably, as I said, the only company that has figured out how to seduce and persuade the LLM, right? And it's simply because it's a brain. And every trick of the trade to persuade the brain, we unleash on the LLM. And because it is like a brain, it is persuaded.
That's
Wow.
incredible. That's
I mean,
incredible.
Rachel, we've never heard anyone talk about
No.
this, and we've had people in this space, that are sort of, answer engine companies, and I just think that's pretty compelling in many, many ways. Dr. Pradeep, let me ask you this. So many CPGs are trying, it's early days. You're seeing this, you're leading this. They're trying to become more of a predictive enterprise, and especially with innovation. And I think you've got sort of this, I don't know, mega force with, your obviously your neuroscience data and then leveraging AI. Can you share a bit more about how you're helping the legacy CPGs predict better innovation, because in so many cases, as you know, challenger brands are ahead here in many ways.
Yeah. And there are very good reasons for that. Long ago, a good friend of mine was the CEO of Unilever, Paul Polman. And he would say to me, Pradeep, what I never understand is we as a great company have incredible resources. And yet there is somebody who's running a little company that has figured out a consumer need a click before us. And why is that? Why can't we be the little company that figures it out a click before us? And we sorted out that problem, right? And the solution many times is an old Indian story. There's a guy who is on this night, there's a lamp, and there's a guy searching for something. To the passerby asks him, "Hey, what are you looking for?" The guy says, "I know, I lost my ring, so I'm kind of looking for it." And the guy said, "Oh, where did you lose your ring?" He said, "Oh, there in the dark place there, I lost the ring there." The guy says, "But why the hell are you looking for it underneath the lamp here?" He said, "Oh, there's a lot of light here." So you lost the ring in the dark, you're looking somewhere else in the light just because there is more light. We have exquisite insights tools to explore the conscious of the consumer's mind, right? We ask them questions. We do focus groups. We look at Amazon reviews. We look at Walmart reviews. And we say, oh my God, what are these people talking about on X? Everything is conscious responses. People are conscious, writing about something, moaning about something, complaining about something, talking about something, all conscious. We have exquisite tools to look for them. But the action is in the non conscious, in the dark out there. Nobody's looking there. That is
Mm.
where the innovation lies. The unarticulated consumer needs and desires and frustrations lie there. So, the way we do innovation is not by more effective mining of user reviews,
Mm.
more effective mining of more tweets or exposts or whatever. No, that is just searching in the light where the ring was where it was dropped in the dark out in the woods. We go to the woods in the dark in the non-conscious mind, and that's where we mine for it. And therefore, the innovations we recover and consumer needs we discover are so latent that you don't even know that you have that need. Steve Jobs always used to say this, right? And he's somebody that lived during my time, entrepreneur during my time, and many of us in the Silicon Valley look up to him as an older brother and a guiding spirit. Now, Steve would say, don't go to your consumer and ask them what they want. They don't know what they want. Now, yet, however, the same consumer who ostensibly did not know what they wanted, when you showed them an iPod or something, they would say, oh my God, that's exactly what I needed to carry my music along. How did you know I needed that? The consumer who did not know or could not articulate what they wanted could recognize what they needed. How's that? How can it be that you can't articulate what you want, but you can recognize it when it is presented to you? Because when you recognize it by your non conscious, you articulate through your conscious. That's why going to the consumer and saying to them, tell me what you want. You,
Mm.
you can. I'm not throwing any cold whatever on the incredible work people do with focus groups and surveys and research and everything. I would never say don't talk to your consumer. Please do, but use it for different purposes. If you go talk to them to quote unquote understand their unspoken, unarticulated needs, that is futility,
Yeah.
right? And because innovations come from there, we have a slightly different way of doing innovations. And some of the world's largest CPGs are working with us and moving the ball forward. They're not locked in the Stone Ages. They're not. GenAI has freed so much of their thinking, opened their minds to possibilities, right? And so they're doing wonderful, beautiful things at breakneck speeds. And and I constantly get asked by various companies, "Oh, can we acquire you?" Yada yada yada, right? Constantly, and it's not because I'm a handsome man or something like that. It's not. Yeah, I had to say that. All right, so it's 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 simply that there is a great awakening, right? An awakening to possibility, and I tell everybody the kind of tools that I have built are not intended to replace people. If you think you want to use my platform to get productivity gains that you could send off some people home, I'm not giving you my platform. I'm not. Right? We have enough business that I actually refuse business. If your goal is to lay off a whole bunch of people, please go take a hike. Right? I'm not doing it. If your goal is to say, I want to supercharge my process, I want to make man Superman, woman Wonder Woman, then you have a partner in me, right? We will partner. And what is increasingly happening, guys, is, my company built long ago when I ran NeuroFocus, built neuro labs for companies around the world. We are starting on a journey of building desire labs. So our platform, along with a team, is embedded in a company at its core in the Desire Lab. So we're just starting on the journey where because you see, throwing a GenAI platform at a CPG client is like water in the desert sun. Why? Everybody has so many platforms. People have thrown them up. There are so many tools popping up on a daily basis that throwing a platform at a client and saying, okay, fine, learn this as well. You're writing prompts, write a prompt in this one as well, is an exercise in futility. By the way, do you realize that long ago my PhD was in nonlinear dynamics, and one of the important things is chaos, right? Now, chaos, as you may or may not know, is where minor change in initial conditions give you vastly different outcomes. That is a mathematical definition of chaos. Now, let's say you are a CMO in a company, and I'm a young person in marketing. I run to you say, I got this cool innovation. I wrote this prompt this way and asked it to come up with a cool product. Look at the cool product it's come up with. And you would turn to me as a CMO and say, what if I change the prompt a little bit, a few words here and a few words there? Would I get the same result? No, completely different result. So, on what basis is there any consistency in what answers that come? In a way, if you study these things carefully, you will find there is an element of linguistic chaos in LLMs. They need to eliminate it, squeeze the noise must be kind of squeezed out of the signal for a CMO to say, I'm ready to put $100 million behind this product. So, what we find is all of these little things that need to happen to make a real product go to market in a real company and generate real profits. You can't just say, here is an engine, here is a platform, here is a prompt, see you later. Commerce doesn't work that way. Neuroscience doesn't work that way. That's why I built NeuroLabs. I'm building Desire Labs similarly to take the neuroscience powered Gen AI, become real, add real value. Because how many people do cute pilots, right? Every company selling a company a pilot is no mark of any accomplishment. All right, nothing. But when you do repeated business and they come back again and again and say, I want to do this, can you help me do this again and again? Then you have something real. So that's what we have built. And we are building these in Desire Lab. So I'll stop here.
Wow, Dr. Pradeep, that's some serious frontier insight knowledge. We're just so glad you could join us today. We'll put links into all your book and your company as well. We know you're busy. Rachel, help me close this out. I'm still trying to process it.
Yeah, this was an incredible conversation. I just purchased your audiobook, so I'm going to get into it this weekend. I can't wait to read it, to listen. And it's been a pleasure having you on, Dr. Pradeep. Hopefully we can continue the conversation.
Oh, we will. We will. I'm positive. And you guys are always welcome to buzz me anytime you have, because this field is exploding. Yeah. There is a notion of neuroscience and Gen AI revolutionizing things. There is a notion of LLM findability. There's a notion of how do you bring these things in-house and make it endemic and within the system without the system rejecting it, right? Then there are other things we are doing, such as entirely synthetic digital human beings, right? We have done those things that can change a number of ways in which focus groups and research and everything happen, and what value you can get from it, and how do you make sure that that you're not getting the same thing again and again, that it's that in creating a synthetic being we have not really kind of made everything the same, that the wonderful differences in human beings are actually seen. And more importantly, how people do observation of a consumer's life, etc. We do those things, but with the lives of synthetic human beings, you can actually observe them. So there's a whole interesting world that is developing. So anytime you want to talk about more cool stuff, It looks like you like cool stuff.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Cool, you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Barry. Well, here we are. Our top 5 learnings from the amazing conversation we had with Dr. Pradeep, which was so awesome. I learned so much. The first takeaway is really around NeuroAI and the future of marketing. Dr. Pradeep emphasized the integration of neuroscience with generative AI to create NeuroAI, which leverages the power of the non-conscious mind to enhance marketing strategies. He highlighted the importance of understanding the non-conscious mind, where consumer desires reside, and how metaphors play a crucial role in accessing these hidden needs. And number 2 was about innovating with GenAI. So Dr. Pradeep discussed how GenAI has revolutionized the tools available for innovation, really moving away from outdated methods to more advanced AI-driven approaches.
And number 3, not surprising to hear Dr. Pradeep talk about large language model findability and prioritization. He can certainly help with his company over there. So they're using neuroscience and obviously GenAI to help find and make brands essentially more AI visible and making them more appealing to those algorithms. Number 4, really interesting concept he talked about with desire labs, which are at the next frontier. And he's sort of working with CPGs to embed these neuroscience-powered GenAI desire labs into companies, CPGs, to drive better insight, better foresight, more profound innovation, and to meet, which I thought was interesting, latent consumer needs that you're not really aware of maybe with traditional research. And he's just all over it, just like he was, many years ago when I worked with him, just thinking about neuroscience. And then number 5, Rachel, what about this concept? Synthetic digital human beings. He introduced the concept of entirely synthetic digital human beings, which can revolutionize, just transform focus groups and research by providing valuable insights while maintaining, the diversity and uniqueness of human experiences. But as predicted, Dr. Pradeep was absolutely amazing, right, Rachel?
Yeah, he was incredible. Really an amazing conversation. That brings us to the end of this episode. Barry, thank you so much to Dr. Pradeep for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed our show. And as always, thanks for listening to the Kantar Retail Soundbites podcast.
And special thanks to Victoria for producing and marketing the podcast. And we will see you in 2 weeks.